everybody. Welcome to Rock and Roll Shin-Soo. My name is Gabe Estel. I'm here with my co-hosts, Dennis Levi Leach and Jonathan Getz. How's it going, boys?
Good.
Amazing.
Good. Well, happy pre-Thanksgiving Eve. All right. Tonight, episode 84. All right. Going to be talking about a very important figure in music. Now, unless his name is Keith Richards, or her name, I guess, rhythm guitarists often get overshadowed by their flashier counterparts playing lead. You know, getting noticed can be even tougher when your bandmate dons an iconic schoolboy costume as he duck walks across the stage and into the collective consciousness of hard rock fans everywhere. Still, the rhythm guitarists persist, churning out the riffs that drive some of our favorite tunes. Earlier this week, the music world lost one of rock's most reliable guitarists, a master of tempo on a custom Gretsch guitar. He was a little guy with a big, powerful sound. So tonight, we honor the late Malcolm Young. This is Rock and Roll Shin-Soo, episode 84. Now tonight, we've got our grab bag section. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, this is where each of the co-hosts introduces a topic that the other co-hosts have no prior knowledge of, and go back and forth there. And then the heart of the order, as I alluded to in the introduction, is going to be a tribute to Malcolm Young of AC/DC. And then to close out the show, we'll have our Show Your Cards session. So that's where we dig into our baseball card archives and pull out a card that either is quirky or has sentimental value, or maybe even could be pertinent to tonight's topic. So let's go ahead and start with the grab bag. Jonathan, why don't we go ahead and begin with you? Why don't you pull something out of that bag and surprise us?
Yeah, so AC/DC, obviously the topic of the night. Back in Black, that was a popular album, right? That sold a few records.
Still is. Yeah.
22 million, according to the RIAA, which is record sales in the United States. And so that ranks it, Back in Black is ranked 6th for albums all time, 4th if you don't count greatest hits.
Okay.
I'm pop quiz hot shots. I want you to name as many albums as you can in the top 25 of the all-time album sales on the RIAA charts. So that means just in the United States, and that also means, and I'll give you one hint, that there's a genre of music that is more likely to be in the top 25 than if it were albums for the world.
This is just U.S. and this is top all-time sales.
Correct. Album sales.
Thriller.
All right, so between the two of us, right? Name as many as we can.
Yeah. We'll just
okay.
Thriller.
Yeah, Thriller number 1, 33 million.
Now, do we not include greatest hits?
You can include greatest hits.
Okay, the Eagles' greatest hits.
Yeah, Eagles.
That's number 2 at 29 million.
Is there a Journey on there? I'm not sure which Journey it would be.
25, number 25,
Infinity?
right there. Greatest hits.
Infinity?
50.
Oh, the greatest hits.
Okay.
I'll say Boston's first album maybe cracks the top 25.
Number 13 at 17 million.
Nice.
Nevermind.
Nope.
No.
Fuck. I'll go with is there an Eminem album in the top 25?
Nope.
Okay. Jeez, it's harder than I thought.
Actually, there are no. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, there are no hip hop albums in the top 25.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Not even All Eyes on Me, Tupac. Not
Chronic. I was going to say Chronic.
Huh. Okay, so no hip. Okay, that makes it easier. That filters out some that I thought would be included.
There's a couple soundtracks.
Oh God, I'm struggling.
There's a soundtrack from the early '90s.
Bodyguard. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And a soundtrack from the '70s.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yes.
Yeah, good work, Levi.
Yeah. 18 million and 16 million, respectively.
What about Frampton Comes Alive? Crack the top 25?
No.
Really? Okay.
Let's
Beatles number 1. That number one thing that the Beatles put out.
Actually, no.
Like 15 years
No.
ago? Really?
No, the Beatles are on there, but not that.
Would it be the Beatles, like, Red and Blue albums? Or,
Oh, yeah.
No?
Yeah.
62 to 66 is number 28.
Okay, so that's
but
Red one.
there's a Beatles official double album.
Is it White Album?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't know it sold that.
Caveat, I believe, because it's a double album, each album sale counts as 2. I believe. And that's at 19 million. Number 10 overall.
Levi had mentioned Thriller earlier. What about Bad? Did Bad sell?
No.
Okay. All right.
So number 3 overall is the greatest hits volumes 1 and 2. So this might be another double up as a result. A East Coast guy.
Oh, Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Now, what about our British friends? What?
Led Zeppelin 4 on there?
It is number 4 at 23 million.
Okay. Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side is actually number 26 at 15 million. However, Floyd is in there.
The Wall.
Yeah, number 5 at 23 million. Again, another double album, so that may have benefited.
How about Hot Rocks by the Rolling Stones?
No Stones.
Okay.
There is another Zeppelin album, though, at number 21.
I already said 4.
Self-titled?
Think of the theme here with the double album sales.
Oh, Physical Graffiti.
Yeah.
Physical Graffiti's on there?
Yeah,
no kidding.
16 million. So it might actually just be 8 if you don't count the double. I mentioned a genre exclusive to the United States. Country music.
Oh, Garth Brooks has got to be on there.
Number 7.
The hits.
Double Live, 21 million.
Double Live.
The Double Live album, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was the hits one where it's like faces like the flag or whatever.
Oh, right. There's one more country artist in the top 10.
Well, I was going to say
female,
Shania
Faith
Twain.
Hill. No.
Shania Twain. Come on over. 20 million.
Yep.
I can't name one song on that album.
No.
Man, I feel like a millionaire.
So there's one. Let's see if you can get the last album in the top 10, and we'll kind of leave it at that.
Okay.
1970s.
Yeah, and I totally am okay with donating my time for the grab bag tonight for this, because this is a good segment here.
Okay. All right, you keep going.
One more album in the top 10. I would say.
Okay. What was the genre? Will you give us a genre?
Rock from the 1970s.
Hotel California, maybe?
Hotel California is number 19 at 16 million.
Okay.
God,
the Eagles have to be so.
And it wasn't Frampton Comes Alive, huh? Okay.
Oh, you know what? The Beatles 67 to 70 is number 16, so you said that earlier.
Yep, okay. The Blue, yeah.
Another one in the top 10 from the 70s.
A band that welcomed all genders.
Oh, the Village People, huh?
No.
Who are we talking about?
Gender.
Last time I checked, they were all guys. All right.
Well, all genders, and I mean this in the 1970s
ABBA.
binary.
ABBA?
Nope. American band.
I thought it was ABBA.
Partly American band.
A partly American band that welcomes all genders. Okay.
Let's see. They actually part of the theme is they replace an integral member halfway through or not even halfway through their career. Change their sound.
Oh, Fleetwood Rumors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the top 10. If you guys want to try to get there's a few more rock records in the top 25.
I give up. It hurts my brain.
Actually, there's a couple from the 80s. There's a few from the 80s you'd kick yourself for not getting. One metal record,
Oh, Born in the USA, I bet's on there.
Born in the USA is number 24 at 15 million.
One metal record?
One metal record.
Metallica's Black Album?
Yeah, that's number 22.
Okay.
So then you have Elton John's Greatest Hits at 14, Garth Brooks' No Fences at 15, Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill at 17, Hootie at number 20.
Wow, I didn't realize Hootie had sold that.
So number 11 though, you're gonna kick yourselves unless you said it and I missed it. Appetite for Destruction at 18.
Oh yeah.
All right, good question.
Yeah. So, but just to recap,
was Back in Black on there?
No. Or I'm sorry. Yes. Back in Black was number 6. Number 6 at 22 million.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the top 25 RIA.
Good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Yeah. That got me thinking, man. Good job. And I if that was just you handed me that as a pop quiz on paper, without any clues, I wouldn't have done as well as
you guys did pretty well under the pressure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bet if you sat down with pencil and paper and were given 20, 25 minutes to do it, you would have gotten them all.
Cool. All right. So for mine, it ties into AC/DC as well. AC/DC probably one of the most, if not the most, probably the most, I would imagine, if you go by sales at least, most successful established band to switch lead singers, right? And obviously, in AC/DC's case, it was the result of a death. But their popularity stature grew after Brian Johnson came on board. What of the bands, the other bands that have done this? So it's got to be a band that was established. People knew about them. Didn't have to play arenas, but a big established band that switched lead singers. Which of those bands do you think has the best catalog for the second, or the lead singer after the one that was the original, or the one that people knew the most?
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, maybe I articulated that.
Van Halen would be one, but like a lot of people are going to argue that the later Van Halen catalog isn't as good.
Sure,
I would be one of them.
I thought about that too. I mean, that's apples and oranges. I mean, Helen's popularity they maintained or even increased.
For sure.
Yeah, it probably grew, but I'll question the quality of that output. But that's me. That's my taste.
And then a lot of the other people I'm going to think of, it seems like you would only have maybe 1 or 2 records before they switch.
Some of it, the body of work is small.
Yeah.
So that affects it. Now, my vote, and I hope this counts, but I didn't really make up any rule. I didn't make any rules, so I can say it counts. I'll go with, even though they slightly changed the name, I'll go with the Small Faces to the Faces. Because you got Marriott leaving, and you got Ronnie and Rod coming on board. So, I'll say that counts because, one member was swapped out, who also then went and formed his own another kick-ass band. And then, Rod and Ronnie, obviously, after the Faces, well, kind of during the Faces, near the end of it, did their own things, found success. So yeah, I'll go with the Faces, or the Small Faces to the Faces, as being, and like I said in the intro to this, I articulated it poorly. The best catalog, in your opinion, after that new lead singer takes over.
Okay.
I'm gonna win on a technicality.
Okay.
Crazy Horse, when they replaced their lead singer with Neil Young.
Because everybody knows that other guy. Yeah, okay.
And I mean, the one that first popped in my head was Jefferson Airplane, before they had Grace Slick.
Oh, okay.
Because they had recorded, I'm pretty sure, Somebody to Love with like another female singer.
Oh, okay, but they weren't really like established though, right? Until Grace.
No, yeah, they were. Yeah, like once she came on board is when they got popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for Halen and ACD, well, Halen especially, because like shit, 1984, they're one of the biggest bands in the world, you know. And then for AC/DC, which we'll talk a little bit about later, they were gaining popularity. You know what I mean? Like they were just starting to play bigger venues and stuff like that when Bond died, and starting to get more attention when Highway to Hell came out. Well, it's a small body of work, but the quality's great. I think Sabbath as well, from Ozzy to Dio. Granted, it's only 2 records, and also another one I'll give as well is, even though he would be, I guess, technically the 3rd lead singer, because they had Rod Evans who sang on Hush. I think going from Ian Gillan to David Coverdale, I think I like the Coverdale output quite a bit. So that after the Faces, that's my second choice.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah. I think the Faces is probably the way to go with that. I would agree. Yeah. So. Yeah, and it's such an interesting transition too, because we're seeing it now. With Blind Melon, they've been touring with a new lead singer for how long now? 5 or 6 years at least, right?
Maybe more.
Oh yeah, a decade.
A decade, yeah. And then Stone Temple Pilots just added a new guy.
Alice in Chains.
Yeah, Alice in Chains, and that's been some solid output. I mean, it's not gonna be as good as
well, it's only two records, too.
Right? But it's good.
But they're great. Yeah, they're great.
It's really thanks to Jerry Cantrell. Yeah.
Yeah, I listed them, but I just, my note was that the small, but it's just such a small body of work.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But
yeah.
And then you had some other bands that recorded a few records with a lead singer, but didn't really get much attention. And then when the new guy came on, that's when they got a lot of attention. 2 bands there, I would say, would be Journey and Iron Maiden.
Yeah, REO Speedwagon.
And Speedwagon as well.
Right.
Yeah. Fleetwood Mac, which, it just kind of depends on how you fancy your Mac. If you're a Peter Green person or Stevie Nicks, Buckingham and
I'm a person that can get into both versions of that.
Me too. I like both.
He wishes they would have called it something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're 2 totally different bands.
Yeah. I like both of them as well, but I think of them as different bands. You got this really bluesy band, and then this.
That first record's amazing.
Yeah.
The Peter Green Fleetwood Mac self-titled one.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my grab bag. I was thinking about sort of how it all sounded after somebody new got on the pipes. So
yeah, and it's nice that it can be done.
Yeah,
and so often it's kind of frowned upon when you try to do it. And it's silly to frown upon it because, who cares? These guys, they like making the art. They need to make the money. There's a whole slew of people behind the band that has to make some money too. And
life just happens. People have disagreements and don't get along. And
I was reading it, and admittedly my AC/DC knowledge is limited, but reading about how quickly they made that change after Bon Scott died.
Yeah.
Because he died in February, and they put out that album like 2 months later. They put out Back in Black 2 months later. I mean, jeez.
I think they had already written some of those tunes.
Sure,
right?
Sure,
while he was alive. Yeah,
but had to record it all, and
and
I mean, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
now, how long ago did Scott Weiland die? It's been a year,
3,
right?
4 years. It's been I think about 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a process now when you.
Yeah. I mean, AC/DC, like I said though, is still like the Back in Black got that acclaim, because they weren't quite as big when Bond died as some of those other bands that I cited, like Halen, obviously, Deep Purple as well. Like when Gillian left, 73, I think 74, they were huge, and they Coverdale, a lot of work in a short amount of time. You put out 3 albums in 2 years. They stayed huge. They were still like, you know what I mean? Just to when all of us were growing up, you know, we never like none of the bands that we really cherished like went through that. You know what I mean? So it had been kind of mind blowing if you were a Deep Purple fan in the '70s to be like, whoa, they got a new lead singer, you know? Like what?
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, yeah, it takes us right into our Heart of the Order.
Yeah, Heart of the Order, honoring the late Malcolm Young. You know, when I heard this news, like everybody, I was certainly you know, sad because I value the guy's work so much. That said, you know, it's been a rough last few years for the guy, you know, and his family and friends and his bandmates as well. You know, he's just sort of slipped into, you know, succumbed to dementia, which you know, is certainly difficult to watch anyone go through. And so, you know, I was sad, but also at the same time, you know, I'm glad that the dude and his family don't have to live with him like that, you know.
Sure.
Because
you don't get better.
No, you don't. So yeah, but I'm still certainly devastated by the loss. God, you know, I feel like they're, you know, critically they were never critical darlings, and the beauty of it is, quite frankly, I don't think they gave a shit. They were certainly a populist band. And I read Jonathan had texted me and Levi earlier in the week a review that was, you know, kind of off point about AC/DC. And I read some other reviews of their albums from the 70s and 80s. And it was like, critics got it, you know, like in the sense that, yes, their stuff is redundant, but also critics like still like totally didn't get it as well. You know what I mean? Like they acknowledged that they were a band that didn't really have a ton of tricks up its sleeve, but I think they failed to acknowledge just how over the course of time, just how reliable that they were, and how much there's a formula there that didn't need tweaking. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And part of that was Malcolm's like dogged refusal to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like AC/DC was not the band you became a super fan of if you were wanting to see a band evolve.
No.
You know what I mean? And that, you know, that was a lot of that was due to Malcolm, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in some bands we look at that like, oh, you know, that's a failure to be innovative, or that means they're redundant. But in AC/DC's case, it was like, it wasn't redundant; it was reassuring. You know.
Well, and dude, honestly, you know, it was like, it was them trying to keep like a link to the old 50s style, just raw rock.
Good point.
And like their sound was this big stone, and they chipped away at it and refined it over the course of how many albums?
Yeah.
To where it may have been formulaic, but they boiled it down to the essence. Like all you need is 3 chords, a drive-in riff, you know what I mean? And some lyrics about drugs or women or booze or partying.
Right. Yeah, let's the songs are all about fucking and the devil. All right. But
rock and roll.
Yeah,
that's another link to old rock and roll.
It's more about the devil with like the shit-eating grin on his face, rather than the one that like your preacher told you to be scared of. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was the devil with like the bottle of wild turkey in his hand. You know? All right.
Yeah. And I think we totally got to mention George Young.
Yeah,
the oldest young brother.
Right.
And he was in, for those who don't know, a band called the Easy Beats.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a really cool big hit with a song called "Friday on My Mind." I don't know, I'm sure you guys have probably heard it. You know, and part of all that is fate. If their older brother had possibly not gotten in a band and gotten a popular, you know what I mean? That song was huge all over the world.
Yeah.
It's like, would AC/DC have ever possibly gotten discovered ever?
Yeah.
So it's a cool thing, when you think about it.
It's a lineage there, yeah. And he just passed away about a month ago, 2 months
Yeah.
ago, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Angus and Malcolm, they didn't join up until like 73. But by 74, they had the basically what you would call like the classic lineup with Bon and Phil Rudd. I'm trying to think who the other one. Yeah,
well, Cliff Williams, but I think they had.
He didn't join until later.
No, he didn't join until like the mid or late 70s. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And so they didn't start playing music together. Honestly, they'd only been together 5-something years when Bon died.
Yeah. It's a hell of a body of work in a short amount of time. The Bon era, that is. Also, and I have to, I haven't read like a AC/DC biography, but growing up in Australia, they had to be fairly isolated from a lot of tunes. And I say that like, yeah, Australia is totally like a developed country now, and it was then, but at the same time, there weren't like a lot of popular bands coming out of Australia. I mean, all the attention still, even in the mid 70s, was still on the U.S. and England. So the fact that they broke through being an Aussie band, I think really says something as well. I think they're from Perth, right? And then I think Bon was from Tasmania, I think. I don't have the Wikipedia page up right now. You can confirm all of this later, but that's like just one of Australia's greatest exports as well.
I think it was
even though they were born in Scotland. They were born in Scotland, right? So, they're from Sydney. Okay.
I think it's Sydney. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
Well, I'd like to do a little just a quick around the horn of memorable riffs. What maybe some of your guys' most memorable AC/DC riffs, and I'm going to talk about a couple of mine first. And the first one is "Let There Be Rock."
Oh.
The riff in that song is just like a driving nail, and part of it is the whole Malcolm never really he always looked like a pissed off teenager on the stage with the long straight hair, just you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, him and Angus are both little fuckers,
they're small
Malcolm,
guys.
and most of the time he played that. Did I say it right? The Gretsch guitar that he played the custom one, but every once in a while you'd see him on one of those big old Gibsons that was bigger than he was, It's just just bopping, man. He was just a bopper,
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he could have been in the Ramones. He looked like he was a street kid. And one of the other riffs that I always loved was Jailbreak, man.
Oh, God.
The little slide riff thing he does in that, man. It's a great song. And AC/DC is great for beginning guitar players. You know what I mean? You do not have to be a master. I mean, to play some of the solos, obviously, that Angus is doing. But, you can jump in and start playing AC/DC songs right away, and you do not have to be a master of the guitar at all.
That's kind of some of the beauty of it,
Exactly.
Yeah. So some of my favorite, Levi, we were talking about this earlier in the week when we were talking about ideas for the show. Looking over the catalog and listening to a lot of it over the last week or so, Powerage is probably my favorite AC/DC record. So it's got my favorite AC/DC tune on it, which is definitely Down Payment Blues. So that one, Sin City. It's a popular tune, but the riff for Dirty Deeds is awesome.
Oh yeah.
The riff for TNT, and even I always liked for an '80s single. I think it was probably because it was one of the early videos that I remember watching on MTV around 1986 when I first got MTV was Who Made Who, and it had those silver they looked like Destro from the G.I. Joe mask. Those women in the video that had those on.
And
kind of creeped me out. Yeah, but
that song was on the Maximum Overdrive soundtrack. Right?
Oh yeah, they did the whole soundtrack. I mean, it wasn't all new AC/DC tunes.
But it was like AC/DC. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yep. So that one. Those are some of my favorite, and I'm a guy that gravitates towards the Bond era,
me too.
I think that Levi had mentioned earlier, about AC/DC not evolving, and I agree with that statement, kind of holistically. I would say there are nuances. There are nuances to where they evolved, and I would say the biggest transition happened when they recorded, not necessarily Back in Black, but I think as a precursor to it, Highway to Hell, because they brought in Mutt Lange, right? Uh-huh. And Mutt Lange's not a guy you bring in like if you want your sound to remain raw. You know what I mean? He's like a pro's pro, like a Bob Rock or somebody like that. So I would say that for me at least, production value of Highway to Hell, at the very end of the Bond era, marks a big shift. It's just it's a more polished sound.
It wasn't long,
not necessarily better in my opinion. I like them raw, but yeah, go ahead.
It was a very short time between Power Age and Highway to Hell, wasn't it?
Right. Power Age is 78. Yeah. And then Highway to Hell's 79, I think.
They were
they're very different sounding records, whereas Power Age sounds a little bit more like, the previous ones, which I prefer. But obviously then I think Highway to Hell is a good indicator of where they were headed sound wise, even if they switch lead singers, Yeah. So,
did you guys see him live?
Yeah.
I didn't. No, I regret it. If I would have, I should have done that last tour that they did with Malcolm, Black Ice or whatever it was. I think that was the last tour they did with him. So I regret not going.
Yeah. I did not, unfortunately.
Really?
Make to them either. No. I had a friend growing up that was really into him. I had a chance to. I probably could have gone with him. I want to say it was like Ball Breaker tour. What would that have been, like 95 or something?
Yeah, it's like mid 90s. Yeah. They took a few years off in the early 2000s. Like that Stiff Upper Lip came out in 2000, and they didn't have any out. That like that Black Ice was like there was like an 8-year gap in records. And I don't think they maybe.
And between Black Ice and the last one, their gaps between records has grown.
Yeah,
which is inevitable. Yeah,
sure. With age, yeah.
It looks like 96 Ball Breaker tour, 2000, 2001 Stiff Upper Lip, and then they did some Rolling Stones club dates in 2003, and then 08 to 2010 Black Ice, 15 and 16 Rocker Bust tour.
Okay. Yeah, so I regret not going. The Rocker Bust tour didn't have Malcolm didn't play on that one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and so now it's funny because Axl's still considered the lead singer of the band, technically, according to Wikipedia's band members.
I don't know what the future holds, because I read that Cliff Williams is gone now too. He left. Yeah, so you're looking at
Angus.
Yeah.
Well, they've got, with all due respect, I think they have Simon Wright, I think is his name, on drums. And is that his name? Simon Wright?
Right now it's Chris Slade, according to the Wikipedia.
Chris Slade, okay. I want to say Chris Slade played with them, like in the
89 to 94.
Okay, yeah, because he had played with them for a little while. So
he replaced Simon Wright in the 80s.
Yeah, and then he replaced Simon. Did he? Okay.
In the 80s, yeah.
So when did Phil Rudd left for a while?
75 to 83, and then again 94 to 2015.
Oh, okay. He played with them in 94 to 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. And then Stevie Young who's on guitar right now, is their nephew, Angus and Malcolm's nephew. And I want to say that Malcolm quit like in the 90s or 80s to get a hold of his drinking or something like that.
88, Stevie Young played with him.
In 88, Malcolm went to rehab and didn't join again until 90 when they did Razor's Edge.
Okay, right. Which is kind of not that their popularity ever dropped off considerably, it's sort of a comeback record of sorts, you know?
They were starting to show that there was going to be years in between releases.
Yeah.
That was like the first kind of signal of that.
Right. But, you know, prior to Razor's Edge, though, you had, they were still big. I don't know. I mean, I think of like Flick of the Switch and Fly on the Wall and then Blow Up Your Video. There's not a lot of big singles on those records. But I mean, they still remain popular as a touring act.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, Back in Black had sold enough; they could have just toured on that.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of, you know, they haven't declared that the band's over. You know, I mean, and this last tour was really, as far as original lineup, just just Angus anyway. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they tour next year or something, just because. Right. Which, hey, you know, Angus can do what he wants to do, you know? I mean,
I would hope it's not just for money. I mean, I would hope.
Oh, I don't think they need any of that.
You would think, yeah, but it's like, why are you forcing yourself to go out on stage every night still? Then it's Angus doesn't look like he's in the best health.
I want to say that the Axl decision, because like there was some controversy as well. Like the last 5 years of AC/DC have been kind of drama.
Oh yeah.
You know, obviously you got Malcolm getting sick, and then Brian Johnson lost his voice. But then like they didn't want him back in the band, or Angus didn't. So and
he has hearing problems too, right?
Yes, it's vocally, and I think he had hearing. I think the main reason was the hearing problems. Okay. And then I think he was under the pretense that he was coming back.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. Or at least Angus, I assume, who's calling all the shots now, was like, no. So I think the Axl thing was more to fulfill dates that they had on the books.
Obligations, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So obviously canceling a big tour, you're going to lose some money. But yeah, so... and I watched some of those YouTube clips, and I thought Axl did a pretty good job, really. Hey, who wouldn't want to sing with AC/DC, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
It's a slap in the... I respect Brian Johnson, and I don't like to see it sounds like the guy kind of gets shit on, but at least from what I read. But I thought Axl did fairly well.
Yeah. It's kind of surreal to think about. Especially a turnabout, you know, with Axl and how he's been on the flip side of that, where he's been the only original member of the band and a bunch of hired hands behind him.
Right. Inverse happening here. Yeah. You know, I want to talk about their sound for a minute. Levi had mentioned, you know, the 1950s, early 60s influence, which I'm glad he did because I thought he articulated that well. And then also, you know, it is part of their sound. To me as well, there's an element in the Bond era of punk too. I think it's subtle at times, but to me it's almost kind of like with the Bond stuff, it's almost kind of like a punk blues, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys hear it as much as I do. I
think part of that comes from they were like street kids, and that's kind of what punks were.
They were a band that like punk rockers, you know, didn't hate. You know, like everybody was like, you know, oh, AC/DC is still cool. You know, they're not whatever. You know, they're not whatever punk rockers hated at the time. Yes,
Talking Heads.
You know, Talking Heads, or Yes, or you know, whatever. Rush, yeah. So all those bands we love. But anyway, so you know, I think there was an element of punk there as well, and like Levi said, it might just be that they were kind of scrappy guys. But yeah, I hear it. I hear it in some of the Bond era stuff. I hear some punk. I don't know if that was intentional. but it sounds that way.
Okay.
One thing that I like that they carried over throughout both eras of main lead singers was always like tongue-in-cheek lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was always part of the band. You know what I mean? They weren't afraid
tongue-in-cheek and perverse. Yeah, right.
Right, yeah. And even it seemed like, you know, some of it almost got a little bit corny, obviously,
at
times.
Yeah.
But that's what draws youth and vigor to your crowd. You know what I mean? Like that draws people that want to have a good time and come to your show and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Lyrically speaking, AC/DC and ZZ Top have a lot in common.
Lots of women.
Yeah. Too many women, too many pills. All right, shoot to thrill. Yeah. One of my favorite titles, and it's not one of their popular tunes. I think it's on the Razor's Edge. Is "Mistress for Christmas." I like it as well.
Yeah, they play that sometimes on the holidays.
Oh, okay. Yeah, seasonal favorite. But Levi's right. I mean, the tongue-in-cheek stuff was always a lot of fun. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And a big loss, and a big loss. I mean, there's. I want to say this as well. Steve Gorman, who was, a guest on this show and also in the Black Crowes, and now he's on Steve Gorman Sports. He had said that, in his Instagram post or something like that, something that resonated with me. He's like, to me, best rhythm guitarist means best guitarist. And I thought that was an apt quote, because with Malcolm, every one of the tributes rolling in always puts a rhythm guitarist, including me, the ones I write, always puts rhythm guitarist in front of it. And while, of course, you want to acknowledge that he wrote all these phenomenal riffs, it probably diminishes his value. It undersells, his gifts. You know what I mean? So I think that's obviously he's getting a lot of accolades over the last week, and the tributes are rolling in, and people are starting. Most people already knew it, but those who didn't are recognizing how valuable this guy was to rock and roll over the last 4 decades. 5 decades, maybe.
Yeah, totally. And an aspect of that is, there's always going to be somebody that has to act like a crazy man and like wallow around on the floor,
right,
to get that kind of attention. While some guys can stoically stand back and just command the attention. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing about rock and roll is it caters to all. There are going to be people who love that crazy guy that's rolling around on the floor playing.
Or girl. Yeah. Right.
But there's always going to be people who, and I lean towards the person that's like, I like that guy who's just like sitting there in the pocket, or that guy who's setting the groove.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't have, not that he doesn't have to be that guy that's acting crazy, but like, it's just like an unspoken coolness by not being that way. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, Malcolm was the John Entwistle of guitar, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. He had probably a little more groove to him than Entwistle did, but yeah, just incredible. It's a cliche way to describe it, but just it takes talent, man. I mean, to write all of those riffs and to
single-handedly almost rule the FM airwaves for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
As Bon Scott said, I tell your friends, it's harder than it looks.
I'll end the AC/DC portion on that note, man. But yeah, Malcolm, cheers, brother. Thanks for everything, man.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go dive into our final segment of the evening, the Show Your Cards, which is where we've got the opportunity to share some baseball cards that either they meant a lot to us, or maybe they're just kind of eccentric cards, eccentric players, just weird cards as well, fun cards. So we're going to go ahead and share those now as well. We want to tell everybody, if you follow us on Twitter or Instagram or like us on Facebook, don't be afraid to show your cards as well. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a fun thing to do.
We accept all card submissions.
Yes, we do. Why not? All of our feeds are full of a bunch of crap. A lot of the times, why not put a bunch of baseball cards up there, as opposed to other stuff.
So mine's a segue. I should go first, probably, because mine segues from the AC/DC, as we mentioned earlier, from Sydney. So I wanted to find a ball player from Sydney, and it turns out Grant Balfour. From Sydney, Australia. One of the more unfortunate pitcher names in history, Balfour. But so it's a pretty cool card, though. This is 2013 Topps, and he's being embraced by his catcher there in an Oakland A's uniform. And so I looked it up. It turned out that this was clinching the division against the Rangers. The Rangers and the A's matched up the last weekend of 2012, 3-game series. The A's came into the series 1 game down, 1 game back, and they ended up sweeping the series and clinching the division on the last game. And that photo, I'm assuming, is their celebration of clinching the division.
Yeah. So no kidding, the A's went to the playoffs in 2012, 2013, and 2014.
Is that right?
Really? I didn't. I mean, the A's are like they're only competitive. It seems like sort of the Moneyball era was kind of over. You know what I mean? Like it just like. They've still got that logic employed, but like it hasn't really paid off. But I thought they hadn't made the playoffs in like 10 years. So I was wrong.
If they had Josh Donaldson then.
They did. Okay. Yeah. For sure. No, I just, you know what I mean? Because
it wasn't Cespedes.
Yoenis Cespedes. Yeah.
Well, they played the Royals in the wild card game in 2014.
Right.
And then in 12 and 13, they played in the league divisional series. I don't know. I guess I kind of forgot that they had been competitive that recently.
Yeah.
I knew kind of like like the Giambi era. They were always kind of like like close to getting to the World Series, but not quite there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had no idea. So obviously the A's are only like 3 years removed from a playoff appearance. So still hoping.
We've all got hope.
Yeah, right. Huh. Thank you for sharing that. I enjoyed the card, but I just had no idea the A's have been in the playoffs that recently. Just makes my team's drought even harder. But anyway.
Well, it helps when you have the Rangers in your division and they can't even close a book.
Right. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I want to say he played for Tampa for a while as well, right?
He did. Balfour, yeah. He kind of got his start there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go next.
Go for it.
Yeah. To go through my cards, all my old cards right now are kind of stored away. And so I just have like the packs that I bought over the last couple of years, like a pile of cards that I've been going through to pull from lately. And I came across, I don't know, I had talked about this before. I got like hoodwinked by Topps last year around Christmas time. It was like Topps Holiday Pack or Topps Holiday Value Pack. And there are all these Topps cards where they have snowflakes all over the cards. But this one is kind of timely because it's George Springer.
Oh, nice.
World Series champion George Springer sliding into a pile of snow, it looks like.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, your World Series MVP, right? And Sports Illustrated cover boy.
Yeah.
Slide into a pile of snow. I like that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Look like he's kicking up snowflakes.
Yeah, pull it back a little bit. Pull it back a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah. Nice.
Nice.
And I did not realize it's got his full minor league stats and major league stats on this card. He got called up with the Astros in 2014 and played almost 80 games, and I don't even remember that. But he got to the minor leagues in 2011, so he was in the minor leagues for quite a while because he got sent back down to the minors after that appearance in 2014. He spent 5 games down at Corpus Christi as well. So
I remember, hearing that he had a hole in his swing, I think in 2015, and people were wondering if he was going to pan out, and obviously he has.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he got the last laugh on that one.
But that was 2014 when Sports Illustrated ran that now famous cover proclaiming that the Astros would win the 2017 World Series, and they put Springer on that cover. So that must have been during that 80-game stint that you just mentioned, Levi. And I appreciate it, and don't take it for granted when they put the minor league stats on the back of the card. I get annoyed sometimes. They'll put like 2 years worth of stats on the card, and then there's just a bunch of blank space on the card. It's like, put the freaking stats on the card.
Right.
Yeah. Let me look at some numbers, man.
I want to see how the guy did in Great Falls. All right.
Seriously, yeah. He was raking in low single A.
Yeah.
He did kick ass in Lancaster.
He's in the Lancaster Hall of Fame.
Right?
Nice. Good deal. Going through older cards as I do in preparation for this segment, I discover a lot of sort of inserts isn't the right word, but they're like special series of the cards that I just have no recollection of. These would be things like these are ones I remember, but just to give you an example that's comparable, like the Future Stars and the All-Star Rookies, and even sometimes like the the ones that just have sort of the narrative on the back, not the stats.
Right. Yeah.
I found one of those latter cards that I have no recollection of these. This is from Fleer 1990. So the 1990 set of Fleer. This is Jerome Walton soaring. Yep.
Oh, other way.
Okay.
There you go. Yep.
Jerome Walton soaring stars.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
me neither. Yeah, kind of a rainbow a soaring lettering behind him. So this is, I don't know if this was like their version of Future Stars or what. So this is from 90. So this would have been the year he won Rookie of the Year in 89.
Right.
Yep.
And the back of it's
After that, he panned out.
Yeah. The back of it's all a little narrative thing.
Nice.
But yeah, I just have no recollection of these cards of this series.
None.
Yeah.
It's almost like the graphic from like the NBC More You Know.
Yeah, right. It even looks like it would have looked retro in 1990. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Looks like a 70s card, but it's 1990. So I just I've drawn a complete blank far as seeing these.
I don't remember that set.
Yeah,
that may be a limited run after they received the cease and desist from Topps for violating the Future Star. It's too close to Future Stars.
It says it's 8 of 12, so they're 12 players. I assume.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
That's
Let's
fine.
guess
Never
those
seen
other
those.
11 players. Barry Larkin. No.
Dwight Smith, the other Cub
Smith,
that emerged that year, was probably one. I don't know, like Hal Morris or something like that.
Matt Noakes.
Ben McDonald.
Greg
Matt
Jeffries.
Noakes.
We need to look up and see where Jerome Walton is, because we said his name on this podcast.
He might be one of the most mentioned players on this podcast.
I know, we have. I think we've even talked about him when he was on the Reds for a little while.
We're deep Jerome Walton fans.
Yeah, like if there are any Reds fans out there that have like the Jerome Walton jersey or custom Jerome Walton T-shirt, please post and share with us.
Giveaway shirt.
Much respect. So Yeah. Anyway, if he's, I don't know. After this, I'm going to be looking up Jerome Walton, see if he's on Twitter or something. Because I don't know if the phone's ringing off the hook, but like Jerome, you are welcome on this show. All right, anytime, quite frankly. So yeah, let's set a goal here, guys. Let's get him. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your cards, guys.
Thank you.
And I encourage everybody else to do so. You can follow us on the Twitter at Rock in Chew. That's rock as in up to my neck in you, which is another great AC/DC song. And then also on Instagram at Rock in Chew as well. You can like us on Facebook. Also, please like or rate the podcast on iTunes. That would help us out a lot. If there's a place you can comment on your favorite podcasting app, however you listen to us, please do that as well. Tell all your friends, and also you can check out everything about the podcast at rockchew.com. So rockchew.com. Every single episode is there, as well as some other features too. So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to plug your Instagram. I think you do a great job with the Instagram, and yeah, people. If you go on there, you know when it's Ken Griffey Jr.'s birthday.
It's true.
And you see lots of great stuff in that Instagram feed. So definitely go check it out.
Check it out. Yeah, just good images of baseball and rock and roll. So until next time, we'll see you soon. Rest in peace, Malcolm Young, and have a good night.
All right.
Peace.